Bull was told by a reporter, and I was told by a different reporter the same thing after the Arizona 27-0 win. Our owner, Jimmy Haslam, allegedly, according to at least two different sources, said about the game, we didn't throw it enough. Now, you just won 27-0. That tells me he's hearing the critics and saying, Deshaun Watson, he hasn't thrown for many yards. He wants Watson 4 touchdowns, 350 yards a game. That's what he wants. So it's so Operation Overkill or whatever you call it, Operation
Overload.
Stockpile.
Yeah.
He wants the pendulum where it's indisputable that Deshaun Watson is that guy.
Yeah.
And a 27-0 win against the Cardinals was good, but my showpiece, it was like I had a Ferrari and I won with a Mustang. He wants big passing numbers. So we've got that piece of evidence. The other piece of evidence we have is after a season that we all say was remarkable and in some cases unbelievable, what the offense was able to do, the OC gets fired because he can't fire the head coach and he's the play caller. But what he's doing is he brings in an offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey who has been at an elite with an elite franchise calling plays for a year and a half. The writing on the wall to me is, and I'm also hearing from folks that have their ear to the ground, that Ken Dorsey will call plays here. It hasn't been reported officially by anybody. I am not reporting that here. I am saying I'm hearing whispers from people that cover the league that are telling me Ken Dorsey was brought here to call plays. And if you put all of these pieces together, that Jimmy's not happy with how much we're throwing the ball, and Deshaun on a podcast says, oh, we're going to throw it. We're going to throw it, and we're going to throw it a lot. To me, it seems like Jimmy has said, my reputation is on Deshaun Watson, so I'm going to give him everything he wants, and we're going to throw the hell out of the football. And I think I would just be prepared as a fan base, and I'm not reporting this. Again, there's some whispers I'm hearing that Ken Dorsey is going to be our play caller next year, and we are going to throw the ball a lot, and it better work.
Just like we got to throw it to Big Nuggets.
We do.
All right, guys, that was fascinating. We're going to move on to our next topic in a sec. But I know we come to sports to escape the crazy realities of real life. But let's just take a minute to talk about being prepared for the future. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of life-saving antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. Guys, that's scarier than P.J. Walker leading a game-winning fourth-quarter drive down 13.
Don't do that. Man.
I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than Ant or Earl or one of our original members like Creative Juice, Evan 419, Phil Bowman, or Eddie getting sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication they need. But thankfully, we'll all be okay because of Jace Medical. Phew. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics that treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, and a handful of other harmful things that can happen to any of us at any time. So make sure you visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It then gets reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacist at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more easy or more important to be prepared than today. So from Bull, Jay, G and Tyvis, and myself, go to jacemedical.com and use promo code LOCKEDON20 to get $20 off your next order. Thank you, Jace.
Well done.
An A+.
But we've got to give an assist. We've got to give an assist to someone in the control room, and I don't know who it was, but at one point I heard someone say, whew.
That was Anthony.
Anthony, you get an assist.
I wrote in
well
cues,
done, Mike.
I wrote in a gasp and a cue into the script. So
you had
shout out
great
to you
pronunciation.
Guys.
You had excellent pace.
Emotion.
The emotion was phenomenal. The use of personal naming people was well done. That was it. You've come a long way. Long way, Mike.
Jace is going to re-up for at least another 3 years.
A++. I'm giving you 2 pluses. Bonus plus.
Phil Walker's going to hate you.
Well,
My man Ant is taking over as the
ad-lib
ad-lib king over here. He has surpassed Lil Wayne as the ad-lib king.
All right, so yesterday morning, and this happened yesterday, we interviewed Joe Marino, who's the Locked On Browns podcast host. We interviewed him yesterday morning. G and Bull came in early to do this interview to get some insight into Ken Dorsey as a play caller and a play designer, and we're going to react to this interview. It's about 10 minutes long, but some really good insight from Joe Marino. This is from yesterday morning, the Locked On Bills podcast host talking about Ken Dorsey as a play caller and a play designer and how he'll fit in here in Cleveland. Take a listen.
Joe, Ken Dorsey, the new offensive coordinator of the Browns. There's mixed feelings about it. Probably if he would have left the Bills last year for whatever reason after the season and come here, people would have been excited. But because of how it ended for him in Buffalo, it seems like he's taking the blame maybe for something that wasn't necessarily his fault. I don't know. You watch them every day. You have a better feel for the Bills, certainly. What's your take on the whole situation and what kind of hire it was for the Browns?
Yeah, there's a lot to get into with this. And Ken Dorsey obviously had a big job filling the shoes of Brian Daboll when Daboll left to become the head coach of the Giants. And he was Josh Allen's preferred choice to be the offensive coordinator. And then I think you just saw a lot of mixed results. You look at his first season, and there was some good, but then down the stretch, they really became this low-efficiency offense that leaned into these throws down the field, and it was low-percentage throws left and right, and there was an offense that was completely reliant on big plays. And then you move into the next season, and you try to become this 12-personnel offense, and you try to become an efficient offense, and you just don't have the big plays. And so I felt like throughout the entire year and a half that Ken Dorsey was the Bills' offensive coordinator, the team really had an identity crisis where they couldn't figure out exactly what they wanted to be. And I could appreciate how multiple they tried to become. The problem was there was just no bread and butter that they can lean into, and you saw some streaky moments, and it was overall inconsistent. I think that he deserved to be fired, and I think that the proof is in the pudding in how much different the team looked under Joe Brady. And it's not that I don't think Ken Dorsey's a fine offensive coordinator. I think there's a certain style of offense that he wants to run and certain players that would work well with him. I just don't think he was the right coordinator for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And I think that as time moved along, that became pretty clear, especially as he had the opportunity to have, 2 off seasons to really install and build it in the way that he wanted to. And you to get a season and a half into this thing and still wondering what the heck the identity is, it just wasn't clicking. And so I'm fascinated to see what this looks like in Cleveland because of Kevin Stefanski, right? He's an offensive-minded head coach. What type of role does Ken Dorsey have here? I'm guessing he's not a play caller. Is he installing his system? Is he just helping Stefanski coordinate what he does? Right. So I think I have a lot of questions about how this all works together in Cleveland. If you had to ask me, okay, if Ken Dorsey was coming in to install his offense and be the play caller, I would tell you that I think it's a terrible fit for Deshaun Watson and the style of quarterback that he is, because what we learned about Ken Dorsey is he's very much a type of offensive coordinator that has answers baked into everything that he calls. But what has to happen is everyone has to be on the same page and see it the same way, or else it doesn't work with any level of efficiency. And Deshaun Watson is not a very quick-triggered quarterback that I wouldn't say is a fast processor, right? He's more of a visual thrower that can function off script. I don't know that would be the great marriage that you would love to have, but I don't think he's coming in to do that. And so I'm wondering, how does he complement Kevin Stefanski, and what type of role does he really have as an offensive coordinator with an offensive-minded head coach that I presume is going to continue to be the play caller?
Joe, the thing that always hit me was it just seemed like, the Bills always drafted defensive guys. You got Stephon Diggs. If I had Josh Allen, I would overdo it. I would say, okay, well, look, Josh is going to be our guy. He's going to want to throw the ball downfield. It just seems like it was almost like maybe Dorsey wanted another piece. If he wants to throw the ball downfield, me need another part. Hey, can we go get another guy to go beside Stephon Diggs? And you look at it, I don't think Tua is that great of a quarterback, but when you have Waddle and Tyreek Hill, it puts you on a level where you can do certain things. Did you ever have a problem with the offense and say, well, listen, do we need more with this? Is this going to be enough to get over the hump?
Well, I think there's probably an argument to be made there where I would steer that conversation is, no, the Bills didn't invest a ton of high draft picks in offensive talent, but they did in free agency and with trades, right? And I think they did something pretty smart, and I think a lot of teams could potentially make a mistake doing this. They didn't put a developing quarterback around developing weapons, right? For Josh Allen, a raw quarterback coming out of Wyoming, instead of drafting a bunch of young players to develop with him, they went out and got veterans. They traded for Stephon Diggs. They signed John Brown, who had 1,000 yards. Cole Beasley, who had the best seasons of his career in Buffalo. Veteran offensive line talent they kept on acquiring. And so I think that's really what it came down to was, yeah, they didn't invest a lot of draft capital in offensive players, but they brought in veterans to put around Josh Allen. And I think that actually makes a lot of sense. I think where perhaps the Bills made the biggest miscalculation on the offensive side of the football in building around Josh Allen has been at wide receiver 2, and this belief that Gabe Davis was going to become this option that's going to make teams pay for really caring a lot about Stephon Diggs. And so I think the disconnect between the reality of Gabe Davis and what the team wanted him to be, I think that's where you kind of got off the rails.
Joe, I want to go back to what you said initially about, hey, if Dorsey's calling plays, you think it's a bad hire. We don't know yet what's going to happen in terms of calling plays. I'm hoping that Kevin Stefanski still calls the plays no matter who they hired. Obviously, you've covered the Bills, so based on your opinion, it seems even more imperative that Kevin Stefanski continue to call the plays. The only thing I would argue about, there's been a lot of talk that the Bills' offense was better after Ken Dorsey got fired. If we look at some of the advanced numbers, Mike, if you could bring up that graphic again, obviously the turnovers went significantly down after the firing. And Josh Allen, a big part of that, obviously, the turnovers. But if you look at the points per drive, they were actually better with Dorsey. And the success rate, I don't know how that stat is figured out. It was better. So, but the big difference is the turnovers. I mean, is there a reason why Ken Dorsey is to blame for the turnovers? And are you surprised by that statistic that they actually scored more points per drive with Ken Dorsey?
Yeah, whenever you watch the Bills offense under Ken Dorsey, statistically it was never the issue. Production's never the issue. Josh Allen's a quarterback. He's going to score points. He's going to score touchdowns. Most touchdowns in the NFL this season by a significant margin.
Yeah,
I think what it came down to was the intent and design of the play calls under Ken Dorsey. It just didn't match up well with the style of quarterback that Josh Allen was, and it felt like Josh had a big identity crisis with Ken Dorsey, whether it was, okay, we're going to become this vertical passing offense. Okay, we're not going to run Josh Allen. It's just like there was things that they've never found threading the needle between when to be aggressive, when to be efficient, and I thought that led to a disjointed scheme. And
right.
I thought what happened was I think Ken Dorsey's a good play designer. I don't think he's a very good play caller in terms of how he sequences, layers things together. There just felt like there's a lot of meat on the bone. You're watching Josh Allen execute full field reads, but there's his first reads completely to his left. His second read is completely to his right. There's nothing coming back into his vision. Like there's just a lot of disjointed when you watch that offense under Ken Dorsey, and it was very refreshing when Joe Brady took over because all of a sudden you did see the intent. You saw motion that was designed to create space. You saw more of an identity for what the team was going to be. You saw Josh Allen having fun again. I mean, the guy looked like he had been through turmoil under Ken Dorsey with just the way that he was talking and was using weird words like low positive, right? I don't think it was a good marriage. I think that Ken Dorsey deserves another opportunity to be an offensive coordinator. I just don't think it was with Josh Allen. I think that if you give him a robotic quarterback that understands how to read coverage and say, okay, you got middle of the field closed, we're going to throw the ball outside the numbers, middle of the field open, we're going to work it to the middle of the field. Everyone's got to be on the same page with route adjustments. If that's the type of quarterback, you got a Joe Burrow, you got a Kirk Cousins, you got one of these top tier processors in terms of anticipation and reading coverage and everybody being on the same page, Ken Dorsey's going to be great. But when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen that just physically can do anything on the football field, when you don't really allow him to play within him being the best version of himself, I think that's what took away from him having more consistency early on. I know that statistically there's some good stories to tell along the way, but I think the turnovers going down speaks to Joe Brady and how that offense was designed around Josh Allen for Josh Allen to just be able to play football as opposed to trying to make him a robot.
Very quick follow-up, Joe, just a yes or no. Are you buying, there's been rumors behind the scenes that the idea of keeping Josh Allen in the pocket was over Ken Dorsey's head, that was forced on him. You buying or selling that?
I was over Ken Dorsey's head. It felt like it was some intent to it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's this thought that, keeping Josh Allen healthy and wanting him available down the stretch and being selective with when he runs. And, of course, that earlier in the season is when you're going to want to be less interested in that. I think that you can you could feel like it was a collaborative thing, but it certainly took away from the offense. And, at the time, Dorsey was the coordinator. So I don't know if I can say that with a whole lot of confidence. And you certainly asked me to give you a yes or no answer, but I think it's kind of a complicated proposition. Okay. And we certainly saw a full season of it last year, and they become this, down the stretch, they become this ridiculous vertical passing game, and there was just no efficiency, but they still scored points. So it's a complicated situation. I think Ken Dorsey deserved another opportunity, and I also think that the Bills needed to move on from him.
Good stuff. Thanks, Joe.
Glad to do it. Thanks, guys.
Do we want to go around the horn with takeaways? Like, what was your biggest takeaway, Bull?
Obviously he said that he's not a good play caller for the type of quarterback the Browns have. Josh Allen, Deshaun Watson is in the Josh Allen mold in terms of type of quarterback, and it's one man's opinion. He doesn't feel that Ken Dorsey's a good play caller for the type of quarterback that Josh Allen is and for the type of quarterback that Deshaun Watson is. I guess we'll find out if he's right. Let's hope he's wrong.
If he's calling plays.
Well, I like the fact that he brought up the fact where he was like, when Josh Allen first came out, they got a bunch of veteran players around.
That was smart.
That's smart. And then you think about Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. It's kind of been the opposite. He's got Amari Cooper, who's a vet, and you went and got Elijah Moore, but he's still a young guy who hasn't proven anything. And then the next guy was Cedric Tillman, who's a rookie. So I think that maybe when you think about G's over, what's it called? Operation, Stockpile. When you think of that, you got to get him some more.
But Tyvis, first of all, to be fair, Josh Allen was a rookie. Deshaun Watson's not a rookie.
Deshaun Watson missed how many seasons?
He missed one.
Then he didn't play 11 games, and now he's
played
here.
12 games in the last
But the conversation was
essentially
with Josh coming in, you didn't want to put him with a bunch of young players.
Essentially, Deshaun is coming back in.
By the way, the most
but
surprising.
Deshaun has a level of experience.
So what?
Well,
guys, also
he should be fine with talented
there's
rookies.
different ways to do it. If the rookies are good enough, it's irrelevant whether they're rookies.
Sure.
Look at the Texans.
Well, the rookies ain't
Their
good
best
enough.
receiver was a rookie. Their second best
Zay
receiver
Flowers.
is in his fourth year. Their running backs are not old. They weren't loaded with veteran players.
Well, they obviously know how to draft receivers. We have no track record of drafting anybody.
I mean, what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, my biggest takeaway is he feels like he didn't fit what they were doing. And it was a philosophical change. If he wants to throw vertical routes, that's why I asked him the question. If you want to throw vertical routes, and that's what you want to do, if they're going to bring him in, I'm fine with it. But you can't have mixed bags of ways we're going to do it. It got to be all one way. If you want to throw the ball downfield, we're fine with that. You just got to be good at throwing the ball downfield. And to do that, you got to have receivers. I always look at the Bills, and it's malpractice. If you got a franchise quarterback, you know what I would be doing? I would have 3 of the best receivers you've seen. And that's how you got to win.
Like what Miami's done.
Yeah, you can't. Because here's the thing.
Well, Miami doesn't have 3 guys. They have 2.
They've got 2 great ones.
No
one has 3 great ones.
But I'm saying.
Diggs and Gabe and big play Gabe.
I ain't seen big play Gabe.
I don't know that Waddle. I wouldn't call Waddle great. I think he's good, but he's very good. I'm not putting him in the great category. For me.
Outside of maybe Philadelphia, which team has 2 receivers that you would more rather throw to?
I'd rather have the Bengals receivers.
Well, good point.
Well, here's the
for now, although Higgins.
No, but I mean, I think it's the Bengals, Philadelphia, Miami.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I might take Miami over.
You know what it's like, man. This be cracking me up, man. Listen, you ever get to a point where I was looking for a house at one point in time. You live in an apartment. Mm-hmm. You go to somebody else's house. You be like, dang, man, this house is nice. They got a basement. This is crazy, man. They showing you all the new stuff they got. Mm-hmm. Then you come up 6 months later. You're like, man, listen, I'm looking for my first house. You show the picture, and then they tell you, oh, you don't need all that. What you need that deck for back there, boy? Why your driveway so long? And you don't even need 5 bedrooms. You need 3. My question is, it's easy for dudes running around here with these good-ass receivers telling me David Bell is good enough. No. I like Waddle.
Who's saying David Bell's good enough?
I'm just bringing it back to
Yesterday, Tyvis did.
No.
Bell?
I said 3 touchdowns.
I think we're all in
David
agreement.
Bell.
The Browns need another frontline wide receiver.
Don't you
no
tell
doubt.
me, Chat,
but they don't need 2. You know.
Hey, Chat. Don't you tell me about no Cedric Tillman.